So with us, we would like to welcome our guest in today's episode, Hala Kuwait, founder of Kreeek magazine. So we're really happy to have you here, Hisa, with us.
Thank you.
So Hisa, at the beginning, it's a magazine, but this magazine is kind of interesting magazine because it's more of a manga magazine. So at the beginning, maybe you would like to tell us about the idea, like from where did you start having, let's say, this kind of idea and creating such a great magazine?
Yeah, the reason why I created Kreeek magazine is because I saw a lot of talent here in Kuwait and in the Middle East. And like the artists were super talented, and there are no like what do you call it, light shed on their work. So I wanted to create this to like shed the light on their work and have people know about it. You know
yes,
what I mean?
I really do agree with you, Hisa, because these kind of people who likes some, let's say, Japanese culture, let's say different kind of Asian, let's say, culture itself, especially when it comes into manga and learning the language and so on, it's kind of really rare. And there are not a lot of, let's say, people in the society itself who really are going over, let's say, into that, especially when it comes into students who are in government schools. Like you could, let's say, you find one or two students in one school that really likes, let's say, reading books about manga and reading, or even having or being talented in drawing and so on. So it's really important to spot the light on them and encourage them. And of course, like, you can see them in the community where you get, let's say, gathered when it comes into, let's say, a different kind of, let's say, Comic Cons that happened here in Kuwait. You can see these kind of people who are really, let's say, into manga and into this kind of art. So it's really great to see that you've been actually helping them in that part.
Yeah, it is. That's the reason why I started the magazine, and also because there are different talents. It's not just manga. There are video game developers. There are people that are trying to make something. So the idea was to have these people in one spot, in one place. That's how the idea of the magazine generated to begin with. So yeah, the magazine has different stories. It's not just manga, even a light novel and interviews with different kind of talented people like game developers and people that are trying to make something with their lives.
Yes. So also when it comes
to pop culture.
Yes. So that's exactly what motivated you in creating this idea of the magazine.
It is, yeah.
Yes. So also when it comes into Kreeek, not Greek, Kreeek. Like, from where did that name come from? Like, what does it stand for?
Yeah, Kreeek is a sound. It's the sound of opening the door. When you open the door, you get this sound that, like, it's called Kreeek. So the idea was to make the magazine door into a different world. Yes. So that was the concept of it.
Yes. So also when it comes, like, there's a magazine. So of course there are, let's say, writers, the ones who actually draw, and the one who actually, let's say, plan in organizing the magazine itself. So when it comes into, as you said, there are lots of stories inside, and also a kind of a short novel or a short story.
It's a light novel.
Light novel, yes. So when it comes, like, about, let's say, the people behind, let's say, such a great work, like, who are they? Like, is it a one writer or different kind of writers? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, there are actually 6 different writers. The light novel is by a Kuwaiti guy, and there's like one of the magazines is written by Hisham Najm. He's Kuwaiti as well, and the artist is from Asia. And then there's a manga called Lost Nicholas. It's by Fatma Saad. She's a Kuwaiti artist and a manga writer. And there's another story called Sky Distance. It's by another Kuwaiti artist. She also drew the manga and wrote it all by herself. Her name is Sora Sky. And then there's 2 other mangas that are by Algerian mangaka, if you want to call them.
So it's really amazing to see that different, let's say, kind of writers with different kind of nationalities, especially also when it comes into art itself.
Yeah. So one of the stories is called Searching for Dove, and the other one is called I Want to Be, which is about wanting to be a manga artist. So it's interesting also because each and every story there in the magazine has like a different genre, like it's a completely different. Like one is action and the other one is slice of life and the other one's adventure, kind of fantasy. So you can see a lot of different things and anyone can pick it up and read it when they're 16 plus.
So when they're 16 plus, yes.
16 plus,
so
yeah.
When it comes into this kind of magazine, is it kind of a monthly magazine? Is it, let's say, a yearly magazine? Like, how does it work?
It's annual, like 6 months.
6 months,
Yeah.
yes.
It's to give the writers like space to
Yes,
like
and it
work
makes
on
sense
their,
because it's made of, let's say, six kind of
different
sections.
writers,
Yes,
yeah.
that's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also to give them some time to like work on their production, because like it's not easy with the social life and all that.
So Hisa, when it comes into as you mentioned, now we have, let's say, different writers and we have different topics inside the magazine itself, and it's a kind of a 6 months magazine that you want to, let's say, create, inshallah. So how did you find the response of people when you started to publish such magazines?
The response was great. Like people were into it, and they really liked the work of like different artists in one place, and like even the interviews.
Yes.
That's inside it and stuff like that.
Yes. So of course on the monitor over here we can see there is, let's say, some kind of pictures that are posted when it comes into the work itself. So maybe you can like talk about it. Like, is it I think from kind of comic cons or events?
This one was at Confest.
Confest,
which was
yes.
like 2 weeks ago. This is Hisham Najm, the writer
One
of
the
Shinigami
writers, yes.
Sensei, and this is his other book. This is Sky Distance. Yeah, which is
also
by
a story which
Kuwaiti.
is inside the book, right?
Yeah, it's
magazine.
inside the magazine, and it's by a Kuwaiti artist. This one's the Shinigami Sensei by Hisham Najm.
So how do you see, let's say, other people's reaction towards manga? Like, how do you feel people look and think about mangas? Like, most of people who actually see the drawings and look at the idea, let's say, thinks that this is a kind of, let's say, books or magazines are for kids.
Yeah,
so how do you see, let's say, that idea?
Yeah, that's the thing. The idea is to like make people aware that it's not for kids, and we actually made this for like teenagers and like above that. So it's not for
associated
kids.
with kids.
No.
Yes.
Like it's really inappropriate for kids to
yes.
to read the content.
Yes. So I think that's the kind of problem that happens, because everyone relates drawings and let's say animated whether movies or whether let's say series comics, or even as you said, is for kids. And they really don't think about the concept that actually they are for teenagers and above.
Yeah,
so yes,
because
it's more
like
important
there's like
concept.
a lot of violence there, and it's not for kids to read about such things.
So Hisa, this is, let's say, such a great magazine, and I think it has lots of great work in it, and of course a great kind of pressure. So in working, let's say, in creating this and picking, let's say, stories and what to put which story first and which story is the end and so on. So who helps you actually when it comes into working in this magazine?
My friend helps me. Like 2 of my friends help me. One of them is Fatma Saad, and the other one is Rawan Abdelafour. They helped me with the manga from like the magazine from beginning to end.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that.
Alhamdulillah for having, let's say, these kind of people associated with you and surrounding you and supporting you at the same time. So when it comes also to for the difficulties, of course, at the beginning there are lots of difficulties in creating something new and presenting it to the world itself. So what are the difficulties that faced you during this journey?
The most difficult part was getting the artists to trust you with their work, because like artists find it personal, like their artworks are personal, so they kind of get scared to give it to anyone because of copyrights and stuff like that. So like the most difficult part was getting them to trust that the manga, like the magazine, is gonna be best for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really do agree on that part, because, and especially when it comes into artists, it's like he draws and he worked and he loved that work, but when he wants to give it to that person, he feels like, no, this is my work. I don't want to give it, give it away and somebody take it from me. It's really difficult for them to, I think, present it, of course. Yeah. So when it comes also to the time that took you in creating this magazine, like from where did you start and until, let's say, you ended, like how much is the time that was taken?
It took me like 4 years to find manga artists that are willing to give their work. But in actually creating the content of the magazine, it took me like 3 months, I think. That's all it took.
Yes.
So
well,
6
that's
months
really great.
enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, the time depends also on the writers. Like I think from the time you, let's say, published this magazine, you immediately told them, work on the next one.
True.
Or you're not going to get paid. So also when it comes into, let's say, the magazine itself, and where can you, let's say, have it? Where can somebody, let's say, get such magazines?
The magazine is available at Nano Manga Store and Lampa Co. And we can also deliver it when someone order it online from our
Nano is my
Instagram.
friend, so shout out for Nano when it comes into distributing these books. So yes, it's really great to see, let's say, people who are, let's say, associated and really love this kind of a great art, a great fiction, let's say, because it's people see it, as I mentioned again, it's kind of, let's say, more for kids. But to me, like, it's really an amazing, let's say, work. It's amazing, let's say, stories that have, even when it comes into series and the ideas of them and how imaginary they are, it's really amazing. And it really gives, let's say, it keeps, let's say, something inside of you, like the child inside of you, like still
that's
there. And even if I'm growing up, like there are things for me still to watch and learn. So also when it comes into, let's say, learning the language, like of course, when it comes into you being, let's say, a manga person and who likes really manga, of course you, let's say, have been associated in listening to Japanese series and of course reading the subtitle. And of course, maybe you're to the level where, no, khalas, I don't need the subtitles, I'm understanding. So let's say, how is, let's say, your side when it comes into Japanese language itself?
I tried, I'm trying to get like Japanese lessons, but I haven't got the chance yet. But yeah, I would like to.
Yes. Well, don't you think, since you were saying that this kind of magazine is being in English and it's the first one in English to be presented, so don't you think that in the future maybe you will present an actual Japanese, let's say, magazine that has actually Japanese initials? Like maybe this is one of the dreams.
That would be cool. That
yes, and distribute it into Japan because this is you're going to be, let's say, challenging the market itself over there, threatening them. Kuwaiti magazines. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
That's really amazing.
They're actually just as talented. The manga artists that are in the magazine, they're just as talented as universal.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course, indeed.
So why not?
Let's challenge them. Inshallah, why not? Something maybe, let's say, a future plan for you now to work it on more on. So as let's say we reach towards the end, like maybe you would like to give, let's say, some kind of advice for the audience that are watching us, or even, let's say, advice for the talented audience too.
Keep working on what you're working on.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll get to it where you want to go to.
Yes.
You'll reach your
And maybe if they, let's say, are really talented and they really actually want to work with you in creating, let's say, some art, like how they can contact you and where they can find you.
Yeah, they can find us on Instagram or Twitter or our website. It's Kreeek Mag, which is like magazine.
Yes.
And they can send us their work via email, and we hopefully in the next issue we're planning to add more arts by artists.
Yes.
So if you're an artist and you're interested in publishing your arts, you can just send us your info with the drawing itself, and we'll hopefully have it in the next issue.
So of course, when it comes into the future plans, like what are the future plans that are you planning, inshallah, for the future?
Inshallah, we're gonna have more arts in the magazine, and we already have the cover
ready for the next
the next issue.
Yeah.
We're waiting on the rest of the mangakas to send in their work.
Yes.
And hopefully
Yes,
it will
that's
be ready
really amazing,
by
Hisa. So
June.
thank you very much for your time and for actually, let's say, presenting your work here in Hala Kuwait. And hopefully we'll, let's say, have you in the upcoming magazine, talking more about it and maybe about the idea and, let's say, creating one and sending it to Japan itself.